Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield with Manny Things, and welcome to another episode of Manny Talks Shooting, the show where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you enjoy this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Things. Without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Manny Talks Shooting, the show where I talk to whoever I feel like in the shooting industry. But first, I need to tell you that this show is brought to you by Go Fast Don't Suck, and Bill over there at Go Fast Don't Suck is fantastic. He might like to make fun of you, but it's all in good spirit. So go check him out, gofastdon'tsuck.net. You'll find something that you can need. But today's episode is a very special one in my heart, and everyone I think love to hear from this guy. It's Mr. Brian Conley from Hunters HD Gold. Brian, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing well. Thank you so much for having me on your show. We've been trying to do this for a while. It's just been so many things happening, and congratulations on your show. I listen to it all the time when I'm traveling throughout the United States. So keep up the good content.
Well, thank you, Brian. We met back in July of 2021, and it was quite nice to actually hear that when we first met that you said, I listen to your show every week. So it's got a special place in there for me. And I know that you started a podcast, but we'll talk about that later into the show. And it pretty much released when I met you. So it was always, we've been growing kind of together. So it's always quite fun.
Good deal.
But Brian, for the people who listen to the show who aren't competitive shooters, because there are a few, Brian, who are you?
Well, I am the director of operations for Optical Prescription Lab here in Pelham, Alabama. And I came up with a hunting lens called Hunters HD Gold. And basically now I travel all around to matches and different events promoting the education of lenses, lens technology, and the eyewear protection for Hunters HD Gold to be able to allow people to, have one pair of lenses to wear from the morning, afternoon, and night, even driving home. It's just one of those things where I didn't know the shooting sports existed, 5 years ago. And now I'm lucky enough to be a small part of it and just able to travel all over the United States. I'm having a blast.
It is fantastic. And everyone loves seeing that magical mystery van when they show up to it. So
I appreciate it.
but Brian, I want to, before we start talking about competition shooting and USPSA in general, because we'll go down that rabbit hole, I'm sure. I want to know, when did you first get into firearms?
Well, that started October 2011, and I was, and I inherited 7 different firearms from my wife's father that passed away. It's a situation where I had been in retail management and different areas of selling since 1992 when I was 21 years old. And I was never, anti-gun or pro-gun. I just never had a, desire or a need, I thought at the time, to own a firearm. My dad always owned firearms when I was growing up. So he'd have, revolvers and stuff like that. We traveled to Texas to go see his family and my mom's family. And he'd always take, revolvers, out there and trade, with family members and stuff like that. They, 44 Magnums was his favorite, Colt 44 was his favorite gun. They'd always find guns to trade back and forth with. So, I was around them. We went and shot out in Texas when I was growing up just for jackrabbits and, just other animals that are, nuisance animals. But it's one of those things. I was never a hunter or never, anything about, of course, the shooting sports or anything until later in life. But I'm proud to be very pro Second Amendment now. I'm proud to have educated myself in the cause and the different things that are happening around the United States and even the world to educate other people about the importance of the Second Amendment and how we have it so special here in the United States. But it's something that we constantly have to fight for and strive for excellence in what those rules are and not to be changed. And it's one of those things where, I love being able to support the groups that go to DC and everything else that do so much more that I can't do at this time. So, I'm very happy to be an advocate now for the Second Amendment and the continuation of that for many generations to come.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And yeah, if we all need to kind of do our part to help promote the Second Amendment. Now, you bring up the Second Amendment early, which is great. So I want to ask you, what is something you think that every person can do in our community to help grow the Second Amendment, make more positive light of it?
Well, one, I don't. If you agree with the politics behind it or not, I think everybody needs to be an NRA member. I think that is one way to help do things. I don't agree with everything that's going on with the NRA. However, I do believe without the NRA, we would not be where we are today. I also believe that without the shooting sports as a whole, there would be no Second Amendment. That's one of those things where the more people are involved in the shooting sports, then the more it allows the normalcy of using a tool for education, for sport, for defense, whatever that tool is needed for. It's great to have avenues to make it normal and be able to talk about it with your friends over dinner, your family, and educate other people that are like, what did you say y'all do? And I go to restaurants and I wear all the jerseys that that are made by the 3 different sponsored jerseys that I use. And it's one of those things where I keep it on after the match because I'll go sit at a table by myself or a bar or wherever just to relax, get something to eat after a match, and it always strikes up conversation about the Second Amendment. And yeah, I get it. People want to go shower first and everything else, but I'm not running up and down the course of fire like all the other individuals. But there's been days that I wish I'd have stopped and take a shower, but I use it as a tool for that jersey to be proud of what we're doing on every weekend basis when I'm out traveling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is interesting. I have those same kind of conversations with coworkers. Like when you tell them what your hobbies are and they're like, what do you do? I'm like, they knew I'm into firearms, but they didn't really understand what I'm really into. And it's like, it's kind of cool to see the light bulb turn on. Like, oh, I can go do that. And that's near us. Because some people think that like, it's hidden in La La Land and you can't ever find it. It's like, well, the power of the internet nowadays, but
exactly,
you can find it everywhere. But
that's where it's important as well through social media to be able to talk about certain things on social media that is about the shooting sports. The people that share their shooting videos or just share their practice videos or share anything to do to make owning a gun normal is always welcome to see and shared by Hunters HD Gold daily as we see stuff posted.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think getting it out there, making it more normal is definitely something that we should all strive for in this community. But Brian, I've got a question. What is your fondest memory about shooting? If it's hunting, anything competition related, what's your fondest memory?
Well, when was that? I got to get the date. Back in, it was my birthday weekend on the 15 in 2015. I've got my old hunting license here. I went to Texas, outside of Junction, Texas, and went on my first hunt for myself. I own some hunting property, but I'd never taken a whitetail deer before because I don't really care about the whitetail taste. I like deer jerky, but just the backstrap and all that doesn't really do anything for me in deer. However, there were whitetail deer, but there was a friend of mine who told me, because we need to go on a high fence hunt, for some axis deer. And that was one of those things I was like going, okay, I don't know how I feel about high fence, like, is there a lot of sport involved in it, this and that. And sure enough, when I got there, we have almost 280 acres, almost 300 acres at Triple Forks Hunting, which is property that I own that we'll discuss in a second. But that's all whitetail. Where I went to go hunt outside of Junction, Texas, had over 700 acres. And it was all high fence. And it's one of those things where, I like to stalk hunt. I like to be, in a situation where I can, tell me which direction to go, and I'll see you later today. I'm gone. I just want to walk through the woods and be able to do, and sit down next to a tree, enjoy nature, enjoy, what's out there. And when I got my first axis deer, was a pretty amazing experience because I remember being with a guide, and when I pulled the trigger and I was calm and everything was good, he goes, "Are you sure this is your first deer ever?" I was like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." He goes, "You seem pretty calm. I usually, that have a big adrenaline dump." I was like, "No, I'm pretty good." He goes, "Well, email your buddy. text message your buddy. Tell him you got tell him you got one on the ground." And so sure enough, I picked up my phone and I'm just shaking. I couldn't stop shaking. He goes, "Oh, there it is. Okay." So I thought you was full of crap for a second. And that wasn't your first deer, but shooting my first axis deer, and then taking it back to his shop. Actually, breaking the deer down myself, taking everything apart, quartering it off. I did all that myself with his help, of course, to bring everything back, because we brought all the meat back to my processor in Alabama and had a lot of jerky made and a lot of other stuff made, some hamburger. And the axis meat had a real sweet texture to it and a real sweet aftertaste. It didn't need a lot of spices at all to overcome the gaminess of it. And that was my first kill. And I really just love being able to harvest that. And that's my first experience, when I really got into it. I said, "Oh, this is good stuff." And after that, 2 years later in 2017, over my birthday weekend, I got the black buck that's behind me. So it's one of those things where, went to the same place and spent another 3 days and just had a blast out there outside of Junction, Texas. So looking forward to my next deer. Hopefully sometime we getting together with Marco and some of the guys going to get me a fallow deer. So I kind of like the exotics right now. So kind of
That'll
cool.
be fun. Yeah, and those kind of hunts definitely are things to remember forever. I mean, I just think about that. That'd be so cool all the time. Be able to either look back at that deer or your tag and be just take back all those memories.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of education, and a lot of responsibility. And it's all fun and games until you pull the trigger, and that's when the work begins.
Oh yeah,
it was a lot of work.
Well, at least they probably brought some Kubota or Gator back to help you haul it in, right?
Oh yeah, we hauled it in, but when you get when they hand you a blade, they say, "All right, start breaking it up across the skin up here and pull." I was like, "Oh, here we go." "So you got any gloves?" He goes, "No." I was like, "Here we go."
Right.
So it was a blast.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine that for sure. Now, do you have a favorite firearm?
Oh man, when I first started after 2011, when I inherited the firearms from Gene Lanier, I was one of those guys that started collecting calibers.
Mm-hmm.
It was not good. And I've since got rid of a lot of guns because I bought a bunch of guns that weren't really, practical and stuff like that. Some neat guns, but one gun that I still have that I love, and everybody kind of twitches their eyes a little bit when I say it, is my Smith and Wesson 500 S&W revolver. That's just it kicks a punch. I like it. I love that that revolver. When it comes to my hunting rifle, I've got a Steyr Scout 308 that is just my perfect hunting rifle that I've harvested both animals that I've harvested with, and it's just my favorite hunting rifle. So that'd be kind of the two different categories of pistol and rifle.
Well, that's pretty cool. Now, so since you started you've weeded off guns. Have you still have that ammo laying around, or did you able to get rid of that too?
If I had an odd ammo, when I sold the pistol, I actually sold the ammo with it, and also the reloading dies, because one thing when I get into something, I get into it. So I bought a bunch of stuff from Hornady and started learning how to reload through YouTube. I self-taught everything. Started reloading ammo. Started reloading hunting ammo for buddies, and it's just one of those things where, I didn't want to be in a situation where I didn't know how to do something once I got into the project. So it's one of those things. Everything started off with, I think I had a small 6x10 room that was a kind of a gun room area that I did all my stuff in outside the garage, and now I've got an extra room in the house that's about 20 by 20 for all my gun room, and I got an 8-foot diameter table in the middle of it where you see me do a lot of stuff when I'm talking on other shows where there's guns lined up across the wall. And in the middle of the table is an 8-foot table where I've got my reloading press, my cleaning area, my, workstation, TV, just everything right there in my gun room where you see me hang out a lot at. So.
Oh yeah. So you used your son's old room and turned it into your gun room?
It's funny you said that. No, he still lives at home and lives with his mom as well. So he hasn't completely moved out yet to give me another room for me and Sherry to make a joint office, because Sherry's pretty much, she's been working at the lab since she was 14 years old. So she doesn't come in the lab much. She collects money and pays the bills. So she's kind of took the Greek side of the business, which is kind of cool. But when we moved houses about 7 years ago, and her and her mother were looking for a house because her mother sold her house down in Dunedin, Florida, and moved up to Birmingham with us. And they were asking, well, Brian, what do you want when we're looking for a house? Because I didn't care a thing in the world about moving or looking for a house. And I said, I just need a room. I don't care, what it is, where it's at, or anything else. I just need a room. And sure enough, they got me an unfinished attic, and I made it a room. So I turned it, did all the sheetrock and everything to it and everything else, and made it into my own room. So that's kind of, Sherry's mom still lives with us today. She lives downstairs and we live upstairs. And her mom's the one that started the lab in 1977. So when I get back home from all these trips, there's a 4'10" lady waiting at the door for me, asking me, how I did and everything else. And Sherry's like, you really don't have to answer to her. I said, Sherry, I don't care. I was a retail manager forever. I'm used to, answering the district managers and owners of companies. It doesn't bother me. And she's excited that we're into a new market. So she's in her 80s now and doing well. And we don't allow her back in the lab anymore, because if she was in the lab back when she was doing things, she was 4'0", like I said. And it was her way or the highway real quick. So all the, she saw somebody wearing a headset inside the lab or doing something else, it would not be good. We'd have to have new employees. So she's not, she's very direct and very driven. But for a lady, a single lady at that time, or divorced lady at that time in 1977, to start a lab on her own was an amazing feat by itself. So pretty neat story.
Oh, it is. Yeah. And it's quite funny. It's not like, hey, Brian, how you doing? No, how'd you do? I need to know. Did you make some sales?
It's not even how you doing. It's like, how'd the trip go? Tell me how much money, how many leads you get, where do you see, are you going back next year? Just the normal questions you normally get asked by a district manager or another owner of the company.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And that's funny because it's right at home. But now, Brian, I can't believe anyone who hasn't heard of Hunter's HD Gold, but I'm assuming someone will come across this podcast wondering what the heck is Hunter's HD Gold. So I don't want the 30 seconds. I don't need the 30 minutes. I need about the 5-minute version of Hunter's HD Gold, sir.
Well, Hunter's HD Gold, I'll give you like you come up to see me at a match or something. Hunter's HD Gold is an advanced shooting lens that is designed for exactly what you're doing, be it Steel Challenge, USPSA, IDPA, Bianchi Cup, Rimfire Challenge, shotgun, wherever shooting sports you're in, I have a lens solution for you. And that's what I mean by lens. There's a lot of great frame companies out there that make frames and source out lenses that are either stamped or some other prescription lenses from other companies that are very nice. But there's not a true supporter of the shooting sports. There's not a true company out there doing what I do that is manufacturing lenses on a daily basis, because each lens is manufactured one at a time at the lab. 17 people actually touch each lens before it goes into the frame. There's 6 or 7 different ingredients that go through the whole entire process that are found on the Hunter's HD Gold website. There's a lot of stuff we do, but the biggest thing is the lenses are made of Trivex. You've heard of plastic lenses, you've heard of polycarbonate. Trivex came out in 2001 by PPG Industries for military use, and it came into the optical industry about 2 years later, and it's lighter and stronger than plastic or polycarbonate. But the biggest difference is that it allows 43% more light to pass through the lens than polycarbonate. So it brings a lot more light to your eyes. And a lot of people, of course, question the yellowish green color when they put it on. But the gold lens with the medical dye we use, it actually disappears after 6 to 8 minutes when you're wearing it, and the lenses are also photochromic. So what that means is they go from a light golden color to a dark golden brown. So they change so you don't have to. So you can wear the same lenses all day. And some of the biggest responses I get that it just makes me very happy is that I forgot I was even wearing them. And that's important because, you got a lot of things as a competitive shooter that you have to focus on. And if you have to worry about your lighting throughout the day with changes, how we do in some areas of the United States, then it just takes away from your mental game. And your mental game is 80 to 90% of this entire sport, in my opinion.
Oh, it absolutely is. If you have, listen to Steve Anderson on that one. I took his mental management course, and that changed more than just my shooting. It changes your whole life and your whole look on life, I think. But I will attest, I went outside today in the snow because it's January 2nd, I think it is today. But it was snowing out, and these were on, and you wouldn't think it's so bright when it's just like overcasty and snowy out, but it's really bright. So by the time I came back in, these things were all golden brown and everything.
Yep.
But they are fantastic. You have the rubies, but those are more designed for shotgunners, and some people like them for red dots. Not every area is good for those, though.
No, not really. In your area where there's a lot of trees and greenery and hills, the Hunter's HD Gold is the end all be all. But yeah, you're right. If you're staring at the sky all day, or you're in some bright parts of the United States where you need extra protection to actually see your red dot better or your red fiber better, then Hunter's HD Ruby is a solution for that as well. It's something we came out with first of last year.
Mm-hmm. And it's been a big ticket. Now, when you're looking at the lab or whenever your people are looking at, what's the kind of rough percentage between gold and rubies going through the shop right now?
I would say that's a great question. I've never really looked at that because I just see it as total sales. But I would say around 10 to 15% is ruby coming through, and the rest of it's still Hunter's HD Gold. We Chris and myself talk to a lot of people over the phone before they make that purchase, because when ruby came out, it was one of those things where people thought it was a replacement. And Mel Rodero with Infinity said it best: it's just another option. It is not a replacement for Hunter's HD Ruby. Hunter's HD Gold. But ruby is one of those things I've talked a lot of people out of it based on when they tell me what their needs are. Because if you're wanting something for indoor use, if you're wanting something to use behind the computer, if you're wanting something to drive with, if you're wanting something to use low light situations or at nighttime, Hunter's HD Gold is that choice. And for those same reasons, Hunter's HD Ruby is not your choice for that. Hunter's HD Ruby is designed for staring at the sky in any kind of environment, but it's designed for staring at the sky in low light or bright light or cloudy days, rainy days, or anything else. But it really makes those orange clays pop in the sky, makes the blue clays pop in the sky, and also, different color clays. But it defines the sky a lot better with a lot more detail and depth. And what I mean by that is when I do demo days at a range, I'll tell somebody to look up to the sky and look at the clouds, and then now put on Hunter's HD Ruby. They look up at the same clouds and they see 7 different layers of clouds. And people automatically think they're polarized because they break down the different levels to be able to see the definitions of the trees and everything so much better. But they are not polarized. The dye we use is another medical dye that brings out that true ruby color on the UV spectrum. That's very important to break down the different layers of clouds, being able to see different layers of trees. That way, when you're shooting shotgun, you have a true knowledge of how far that clay is away based on the trees and everything else in the background that's lighting it up. So it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And I think when I even before I talked to you about rubies, I talked to John Vlieger, and he's like, the golds are gold standard. I mean, you can't beat the gold standard.
Yep.
They're always on me, or if I need the rubies, they're in the bag. But
we put about
golds.
You're right. We put about 2.5 years into Hunter's HD Ruby, and what I mean by that is when I was playing with it myself, trying to make myself a hunting lens, I went through probably 60 to 70 different variations of that yellow gold color, and you can be amazed by just adding one drop of another pigment. It just changed everything. And it's one of those things where when we got it right, people who, when they first got Hunters HD Gold back in 2017, they do different than they do now. They're a little bit darker on the low edge of it because we added more pinkish and red and purple dyes into the yellow with a brown base, but it was just too dark still in early morning light. So we've actually changed those out with those customers who have noticed the difference when they see something new. But now, if you look at our logo that goes, the light golden color on the logo to the dark gold and brown, it pretty much matches that color to the logo the same way. And the rubies change as well. They go from a light ruby color to a dark royal ruby color on bright days. And I've got some equipment that we've just purchased that I'm actually, because a lot of people have asked me, well, what's the visible light percentage? And we got a lot of things getting ready to release pretty soon, so we can actually show people visible light percentage so they can justify the differences with other companies that they've been using in the past that's done a great job on their marketing about visible light. But I'm more about UV light, because the UV light is actually what the light is defined that your eye can see based on the spectrum. So that's kind of where I'm at with UV instead of actual just colors alone.
Gotcha. Yeah. And
you understand some of that based on the industry you're in too, I believe.
Oh yeah. Like if you add a 5%, 2% more of some other pigmentation in it, and it can change the whole color. If it's a little too dark, you got to put some white back into it. It's just like was it Lane Greaves Grimes, right? Who does the stocks out in California? Like him, he knows all the color, everything about color and paint.
Yes.
But yeah, so I mean, yes, definitely working with colors. I definitely understand of trying to find that perfect color is sometimes hard. That's for sure. Now, Brian, I want to ask you a couple. Now I want to get kind of more into the USPSA side of the questions or whatnot, or practical shooting. Now, if I'm correct, your first USPSA match you attended was the Mississippi Classic.
That is exactly correct, in 2018.
Now, all right, at least I got my information right now. What was your experience at that match as a vendor, as your first match?
Well, that was my first match where they were running and gunning, and so my mind was blown. So when I got there the day before to set up, I didn't think anything. Just everything was normal. The match directors were nice. They asked me where I wanted to set up, and I was in a situation where I just had the tent then, and I said, well, it's still challenge matches. I usually set up in between the bays where they have to walk by me from one bay to the other, and they were like, okay, that's cool. So I picked a bay out. Looks like where I set my tent up, because I'm usually the first one there when the match is getting set up before the RO shoot, because I want to be there, to talk to ROs, because once ROs get busy in a match, they don't have much time to stop or demo anything. So I like to reach them the day before. It's just part of my retail background. And I set up, and then when I see all these stages, I'm looking around and I'm seeing walls, I'm seeing paper targets, I'm seeing swingers, I'm seeing all kind of stuff. And I'm, in Mississippi Classic, they had some different, props, and I'm like going, oh, this is interesting. So I was pretty taken back by, just a layout, because I didn't even do any research on YouTube or anything else. People just told me, they move around with guns, but moving around and full out sprints is not the same. So
that's true.
when the RO started shooting on that Thursday, it was mouth was dropped for about the first 30 minutes, and ear pro that I had at the time was also realizing that, oh, this is not, open guns are loud. So it was a whole nother experience doing that stuff. But I was filming some matches back then for my own and stuff like that, because there wasn't many people wearing Hunters HD Gold, but I was learning about the sport. But I was excited, because to be able to see, the ROs out there, and how everything was done with safety, because I called Sherry and told her what was going on, and she's like, good Lord, is that safe? I said, from what I'm thinking it is. I mean, I'm set up where I'm safe, and people are running around, but they've got ROs that are following them, or range officers. At the time, I didn't know all the lingo, and they've got this whole staff of people that are, helping people get ready and everything else. So it wasn't a situation where, it was just, controlled chaos. It was very controlled, and everything was very cool. So that was her biggest concern, was like, is it safe? Because, I'm in an industry now, in the shooting industry, that we, she and I had not been a part of, and especially in the optical industry, we weren't sure what we was getting into. So, but very, very pleased, and now it's very common, place. But it only took about 30 to 45 minutes for me to go, all right, that's cool. And I was walking stages and wanting to go see every stage and see what all the different challenges people had. And I was like, I was amazed. It was really neat to see.
Now, did people accept you when you first went to that match, or did it take multiple matches to be like accepted into like the normal appearance at matches?
There, the match director, I can't remember his name, and I feel horrible, but he had an Alabama hat on, and he was a big Alabama fan in Mississippi. And people who went to that match will know exactly who he is. I just can't think of his name right now. He was very welcoming. The match director was extremely nice. He was glad I was there. I'd let him, I was doing demo day. So people were pretty intrigued to understand that I was just loaning out pairs of safety glasses to wear because, there's some people that came up that already had their, their nice, eye pro, but there's a lot of people there that were just, had basic clears on or nothing at all, hardly, that was just, they got from their local, Lowe's or Home Depot for $7 or $8. So to be able to do demo days, people were nice because they were all about, well, this guy's coming here, we don't know who he is, but he's loaning out this stuff. That's pretty cool. So it wasn't too hard, to make, conversation. It was a situation where the Dupuy brothers were there. I knew them from the Steel Challenge event that I went to. They're the ones that actually told me to come to the Mississippi Classic. And they were welcoming. They were introducing me to a lot of people. So it wasn't like I didn't know anybody. It was one of those situations where I was being introduced like another, almost like the Dupuis family member. If you know the Dupuis, they're very, just a God-loving family that want to introduce people to everybody and just be very friendly and helpful in any way they can. I respect them to this day so much for the kind of people they are. And it just made it really easy for me to, be a part of, something I wasn't a part of yet. So.
That's cool. And then you did meet, I remember you met Luigi Lee.
Yes. They introduced me to the Luigi, and I've told this story a couple of times. It's one of those things. Luigi was wearing some Pilas, and he came by and looked at the Hunter's HD Gold and told me about 18 or 19 reasons why he didn't like him, and I took all that feedback in, and he went on to his next stage and shoot, and the Dupuis were horrified because they didn't realize he was going to be so opinionated. I said it's so okay. I'm not offended. I've been in retail management since I was 21, and I've been told no a lot. Hearing no does not bother me. That just means somebody doesn't have enough information where they can make a purchase decision yet. So I'm okay with that. And it's one of those things where he called me a month later and said he was in a different mind frame and mindset. And he wanted me to send down a pair of aviators, and he wore them at the shop when he was working at Akai back then, and invited me to come down to the shop. And he's opened a lot of doors for me in USPSA ever since. We've been close ever since. So great experience.
He's a tall dude too.
He is.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Now, Brian, how do you keep any resemblance of balance in your life? You're always working. I mean, for people knowing, you're at the office right now. I mean, you're grinding away. I mean, and you're gone half the year.
Yep. I got a very great support system. Luckily, when I first got started with Hunter's HD Gold, I was staying a lot in the Southeast while my son was still in high school. So I was in a situation where, if I was in a match in Alabama on Friday nights, I was going to see him, playing the band still. I'd leave the range a little bit early. I was in a situation where I balanced that out to be able to, do the right thing with my son growing up, being able to raise him. And then of course his mom was helping out with that as well. And of course Sherry, his stepmom, was doing a lot of great stuff. So it's one of those things where I just had a great support group behind me. And Zach understood that I was trying to, build something and see if this was going to be something that was going to be, a part of my future, and if possible one day, it could be a part of his future as well if he decides to get into that side of the industry as well. So a lot of support there. But when you have the moments, I would be traveling when I first got started, I was usually only traveling like Thursday night, maybe Friday, Saturday, and Sundays a lot. And I wasn't doing a lot of matches as far as that far away. And now I'm traveling a lot, but I'm still usually home Monday and Tuesdays and sometimes Wednesdays before I get on the road again. So when I am home, first thing I come back to work, I'm back at work on Monday and then cramming everything in, going home. But when I'm home at night, I'm home. I don't, I separate from, now I've allowed myself to separate a little bit from social media. I've got, Dustin that runs that for me. I had Kinsey back before that was doing it for me. So there's a lot of people growing up through the process of growing the company that were there to support me, to allow me to break loose for a little bit and be able to, spend time. But you got to keep in mind when Sherry met me, and since I've been, Zach was born, I'm a workaholic. I strive for excellence in anything I'm going to do. So when I first got with OPL and I was doing things here at the lab, and then I bought, some hunting property to even get, all this started to even have the idea to create a lens, every Thursday through the weekend, I was at the Triple Forks hunting, learning how to make green fields, learning how to work a tractor, educating myself on building a lake, the biology behind it to stock a lake, and just learning everything with the help of my other two business partners at the time. And when I get into something, it's bad. So I'm into it. I mean, I give it all I have, and that's just, I've been like that since I was 21, and it's something that my first boss educated me, and my father did worth ethic. It's just one of those things. You give everything you got to make the best you can, and you're going to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, but the biggest thing is try not to make that mistake twice. And I instill that in my son today.
Mm-hmm. So you'd say your striving for excellence keeps you motivated to keep pushing.
Yep. Yeah, it does. When I first came into, Hunters HD Gold and going to matches, I wanted to, to just dominate in the eyewear market, in the eye pro market. That was my goal. And then I got to a situation where, a lot of the eyewear companies were bought out by other people and other stuff. So you didn't see Oakley's as much anymore, and you didn't see other brands as much. So I decided to dominate the vendor market and go after, being the vendor, being there, setting different standards that other vendors had never seen before. And that's, I go to change the ideas of how things should be done, through my history of retail, through my history of marketing, and my history of always finding solutions to be the best. And it's not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've made some, financial mistakes, and I've made some, I've learned a lot of great lessons. And it's one of those things where I continue every day just to work through the process and keep the process straight in mind, and don't veer from that. So I'm very, very dedicated.
Yes, you are. I mean, for all the time you put into this, I mean, it shows that you're dedicated to us and the sport and everything in your aspects of life. So it's muy bueno. Now, Brian, is there any shooting competition you haven't been to yet?
Oh yes. Yeah, there's a lot. I've got to do, I did a PRS match last year, and it was one of those things where I'd never, PRS matches, eyewear wasn't required. So it was difficult, but I learned a lot. I'm a big fan of PRS. I like that. So I've done one PRS match, but to answer your question, I haven't done precision 22 yet. So precision rimfire. So I need to do precision rimfire. I just got through filling out some forms, and that's what I'm in the office for today on Sunday, working through things so I can get sponsorship stuff sent out. But I just got through sponsoring the Bianchi Cup for 2022, and I haven't been to the Bianchi Cup before. There's a lot of different shotgun events that I haven't been to that is in my future. I'm going to my first, I've been to a SAS match before, cowboy action shooting, because I used to shoot that when I first got started a long time ago, when I just found, some other story altogether. But I'm actually I think I'm going to Hell on the Border in Arkansas this year to my first cowboy match. and I'm looking forward to that, to actually being a vendor at one, because based on me shooting that before and knowing the age group and some of the people that are there as an average, I know it's going to be a tough situation because they're not used to being educated on the eyewear. And there's other events I go to, and I went to my first PRS match was the same way. Eyewear wasn't required. It could make it better, but why do I need to spend $375 on something that I'm already looking through a nice night force optic or a vortex optic or something already, or they don't understand that wearing Hunter's H2Go can even enhance that even more. So had a lot of education, a lot of stuff. I should do more. It's just one of those things with my schedule right now. It floods down with all the major stuff with USPSA, IDPA, and Steel Challenge that I do right now. But I'm looking to branch out a lot more in 2022, even more into the shotgun world as well.
Now, speaking of shotgun, what's a shotgun competition look like? I have no idea. Do you?
Well, no, because I have not actually. Well, I'll take that back. I went to one as a shooter, or as a spectator. I wasn't really shooting, and it's kind of the same thing. Thing about a shotgun event, based on what I've seen, is all the vendors are kind of in one area, and the match is a good far away. So I'm not going to be in a situation where I'll be, to my knowledge, based on some of the matches, I don't think I'm going to be set up next to a stage or anything like that for demo day. So it's going to be a tough, situation to jump into. But Scott with Premier out of Georgia does a lot of shotgun events, and he's given me a list of different shotgun places to explore where there's good vendor areas. And it's just a matter of, getting, again, out of my comfort zone to challenge myself and say, here we go. Because when I first got in Steel Challenge, it was a situation where not many people talked to me for, 3 to 6 months because they didn't just know who I was. Same thing in USPSA. So it's just overcoming my own, insecurities of having to go, all right, let's go meet new people and, not be talked to for a while. And it sounds funny when I say insecurity, but it's still one of those things that, you want to go to a place where, you have introductions and stuff like that. But when you don't, you just need to buckle down and you stay par for the course. I've been doing it since I was 21. So.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Now, you going to pull out your guns and shoot a little bit of sass while you're down there?
No. I would love to, but if I pulled out some of the guns I have, because I became friends with a gentleman who owns Steel Target Paint through that process, Larry Joe Steely, and I didn't spare an expense on what I paid for my my lever action. I bought a 18, a Navy Arms, 18 something. I can't think of it right now because it's been so long since I shot it. 38 special, that's been turnbull hardening on it. It's a $2,499 lever action gun that people usually buy for a wall hanger to show their friends, and I'm out there shooting in sass. And I bought a pair of Ruger Vaqueros that I'd put an extra $1,000 into, and action jobs, everything else. So it's one of those things. If I went out there with these guns, they would think I was a ringer.
Oh yeah. Now in sass, can they just pretty much wear aviators in sass, or because they like to be in period?
No, that everything's period specific, for dressing up in sass, but eyewear is not. Now, the funny thing about that is, because I made eyewear that was, some rimless. I made a rimless set for myself, to wear when I was, shooting sass, to be period specific. But there's some people out there that wear, prescription eyewear that will be more period specific. But other than that, you're going to see the basic stuff you see at Walmart or Lowe's or Home Depot for iPro, and that's good. There's some other companies that are out there in that as well. But to be able to help people with their lenses for a period specific, setup is going to be an advantage. So that's good, since I can make lenses, and I have tested, the rimless stuff that I do have. When I shot it, shooting, steel plates at 7 yards with a shotgun. There's a lot of blowback, stuff like that, and the lenses held up just fine. So, I've learned a lot when I was, doing that before I even knew the Steel Challenge was a thing either. So it's one of those things where I got to test the lenses, back, and add, actually change some colors with the lenses back when I was shooting SAS, before Hunters HD Gold even had a name or a logo. So back in the early, 15, 16. So pretty cool.
Now, Brian, looking towards the future, what are some goals you have for Hunters HD Gold? Maybe say the next 5 years.
I want to continue the course of what I'm doing to be a huge part of the shooting sports, U.S. and worldwide. That's my number one goal, to continue. I am wanting to educate more into the lifestyle branding of Hunters HD Gold. And what I mean by that is getting Dustin Sanchez has helped me a lot with that, with his future plans as well. But the lens is used for a lot more than just hunting and shooting. And if we get into more lifestyles of people that do frisbee golf, people that do other sporting things of running or cycling, or I got people that race cars that wear Hunters HD Gold, because they're using different type front windshields that don't block a lot of UV, and the lenses actually get to change, and they get if they're racing 8-hour days, or some people Frank down at University Shooting Academy uses them racing for 24 hours a day when he does the Porsche. So Porsche racing. So it helps. And there's so many different things that Hunters HD Gold can be used for. And that's also going to open up other areas where we may find out, okay, we've got Hunters HD Gold, we've got Hunters HD Ruby. What other, products could be coming out in the future to help other sports? So, I've got a gentleman that's a friend of mine who actually plays NFL football. And he's actually used, Hunters HD Gold behind the helmet some. So we're doing some testing with that. Is that a huge market to get into? Of course, but I'm not ready to tackle the big Oakley, that you see on everybody's football helmet if they're not even wearing Oakleys. They put a lot of money, and they have corporate sponsorship kind of stuff to be able to do that, which is a whole different thing, because Oakley is owned by a company now out of France that is a whole nother. It's not owned by the same people that owned Oakley just 5 years ago. So they've got different monies to play with and everything else. Just like it'd be like me making a soft drink and going after Coca-Cola. It's just not easy to do, but you take strides to get there. I've been out to the Olympic shooting park in Colorado Springs, and I've met with those guys before on some of their shotgun stuff and the Olympic side of it. And we those doors have been opened as well. So we'll see what happens for the future. A lot of things. My goal is to listen to the people wearing Hunters HD Gold. They're the ones that are telling me what the needs are, or where the gaps are, where am I missing something at. So I listen to people like you that are able to help me build the brand better for the future in different sports and different kind of environments. So I just listen to the people. That's my thing.
Well, I mean, that's where you learned in sales. You listen to the customer and you figure it out. And sometimes the customer is not always right, but I mean, you still take their feedback and you roll with it. Like Luigi Lee way back when,
Yep. That's it. I try not to burn a lot of bridges. It's one of those things where being able to listen and overcome objections is what I'm really good at. Because being a mad scientist here at the lab, I can make anything. People ask me all the time, are you going to get into the fishing, market and stuff like that? And I said, well, I don't see that right now, because Maui Jim, and other polarized lens companies have that market wrapped up. And I know the owner of Maui Jim. I know, I don't want to, he's not wanting to step in my market. I'm not wanting to step in his, but if somebody needs a good pair of fishing glasses, I can make a great pair of polarized glasses. I use the same generators to cut lenses as Maui Jim uses. So if you're familiar with that quality, that's the kind of quality we put in, the same thing. Their lab in Illinois has about 12 generators, and I've got one, but there's a different, they're doing a lot of mass market stuff. They don't have the same kind of quality checks that we have in house. So it's a different process, same process, but different hands-on process. They're a lot more robotic, and we have a lot more people being hands-on here at the lab.
And I know I'm going to test these out in 2022. I'm going to test these skiing. I love to go skiing every once in a while, and I think that Hunters HD Gold would be a fine fine eyewear to wear all day skiing. So with all
It,
the
it, it,
brightness,
it will. Polarized lenses, you're going to get some extreme reflection off the snow. So your feedback's going to be important on that, because um, take you a pair of polarized as well, just in case the glare is too much off the snow, because you can be on some days where it's extremely bright and extremely reflective off the snow. And polarized lenses do a lot of reflective glare, which is stuff, that's different than regular glare. This Hunter's HD Gold blocks glare, but reflective glare is, you're not going to get any UV. Your eyes aren't going to get sunburned or anything, but you don't want to be at a point where it's just too bright and you're squinting. And that's the thing I always tell people all the time. Hunter's HD Gold and the stuff we're doing, you may feel like they're brighter, but you're not squinting, because the brightness level we're at is not a real bright situation. If you're squinting all day, that's what's going to give you headaches. That's what's going to give you eye fatigue. And with Hunter's HD Gold, you just don't have that. But I'll be looking for your feedback on the skiing side of it. I've had a lot of people use it for skiing, and I've had, about 50-50 both feedback on different sides. So I've made some different things for people that ski, and we've had success rate there as well. So I've got a solution, but it's not, like I said, I'm not really ready to go set up a tent in Colorado or Minnesota yet, or in the snow. That's not. I don't really like cold weather, so I'll get somebody else to do that for me.
exactly. It's like, I mean, you might have snow in October for nationals in 2022. You never know, but
Yep.
But
And I'll be in my hunting outfit if we are.
that's for damn sure. Now, Brian, I mean, we're in like USPSA. There's a bunch of people. Everyone's looking for sponsorships, right? Like matches and individual shooters. Now, what is something, as you're a brand, you're a company. What is it that's something that shooters should consider when looking for like going towards a brand or a company asking for sponsorships?
First, they have to ask yourself why. The shooting sports is expensive. So if they're looking to overcome some cost and get discounts, that's okay. But they just need to understand why they're wanting to do it. Are they just wanting to wear a jersey that's made by Go Fast Don't Suck or Techwear because they feel they want to look, like the pros that do this for a living and want to wear a jersey? They have to ask themselves why. When I first got started in 17 and 18, it was all about branding. It was all about, no limits. If you're gonna wear the Hunter's HD Gold logo, here's a discount. Go have fun. And we still do that today. However, Dustin Sanchez is now taking over all sponsorships for me in 2022 and moving forward, because it has gotten so big. And Dustin is asking those questions of why. Besides wearing the logo on your jersey, what are you wanting to do to give back to the shooting sports and give back to your brands that you're wearing? So then at that point, it becomes a loyalty issue. I've had a lot of people that have gone from one company to another, and we call they're sponsor hoppers, and that's a known term that people use, and that's okay. I don't mean to offend anybody. That's their prerogative. And I've told people before, people that wore Hunter's HD Gold, and they'll say, well, what if something? I said, look, if this company over here goes to you and says, here's $2,000, wear this and put the logo on there, do that. Try it out. Because I know I'm not built to pay money, just cash money, for people to wear, to put something on their, shoulder or jersey to be a sponsor. That's not the way we're budgeted, in doing this. I don't want to have anybody that feels they have to wear Hunter's HD Gold. You see me on comments and posts on social media and talking to people. My response is, thank you so much for choosing to wear Hunter's HD Gold. I want people that want to wear it, not have to wear it. If I want to go after some of the major, players in the, that are dominating year after year, I know those price tags to go get that. And I told Sherry, I don't want to have to make somebody wear Hunter's HD Gold and make somebody talk about Hunter's HD Gold. I want people to want to, because they feel they need to, or they just enjoy it because they truly enjoy their experience wearing Hunter's HD Gold. So that's the philosophy I've taken about it. There's other companies out there that have different budgets, and I don't get mad because Smith and Wesson wants to go pay somebody this much money to put the Smith and Wesson, jersey on. That doesn't offend me at all. That's their marketing is different than my marketing. My marketing is, I want to be hands-on. I want to get to know the people and understand where their heart is in the shooting sports and where their heart is outside of the shooting sports. Because I sponsor a lot of people, and I sponsor a lot of juniors as well. And I don't like holding people accountable, juniors or anything else, and sometimes their parents are an extension of that junior as well. So if I see a junior acting a certain way, or if I see a parent acting a certain way, sometimes we have to make decisions that I'm not happy about at all. It's just decisions we have to make for the consistency of the brand, which is the promotion of the shooting sports and a healthy, safe environment for the shooting sports to be in. So, but humans are going to be humans, and people are going to be people, and that's okay. And I don't, I am friends with a lot of people, and a lot of people wear 100s HD Gold that have way different thoughts about different things of shooting organizations, and that's okay. I don't mind, because they're talking about an organization. And I believe discussions within organizations help promote change, and we learn from change. And as long as it's not directly at attacking individuals, personal lives and stuff like that, then I kind of look the other, like that's kind of a gray area. But as long as consistency, and there's a lot of people that are out there that have certain meme pages or different things going on, and they're not sponsored. They're their own sponsor. They've been shooting this long enough that they don't have to worry about sponsors, so they can have their own voice. They can have their own thing, because they're not having to answer the sponsors, because they are their own sponsor now. And I'll applaud those people as well. That's how change happens.
Right. And how I look at things, it's like, it's not like some people should be seeking a relationship with like a brand or a company, other than what can the brand do for me? It's what can I do for the brand as a person, as a shooter, as a citizen, as maybe even a platform. Like some of us who have what we can call a platform, so what can we do for the company, other than what can the company do for me? And
just being consistent. That's the whole thing. You get people that start off all gung ho about a brand, and then they get complacent, and then all of a sudden they need something else. And in the future, you're like, well, I watch everything. I'm very much entailed in social media and everything else, more than I should be. But and that person comes back to you and says, hey, I need to get another pair of eyewear. I'm like, okay, great. Here's your discount process. Here's that. Oh, well, last time you did it, you comped a whole pair out. I'm like, yeah, we made a decision based on this, but now budgets have changed this. And that conversation happens differently, because people have become complacent, and they're not doing what they used to do. And I'll still take care of them. I still take care of people that want to wear the 100s HD Gold logo on their jersey, because that's advertising for me. So I take that as an advertising discount. So, but there's different levels, and that's what Dustin is going to start managing for me, more detailed. And we've got some major plans to even get people at a different level, even higher than what we've offered before. And I'm not really ready to discuss that yet, but there's a lot of exciting things coming around for 100s HD Gold. And I know I can only be at, 40 to 45 places a year, but, having help with, like, for example, Bill Dudall with Go Fast Don't Suck, he's actually going to be in place to have demos when he goes. He did some last year. He's going to get into it more next year, where he'll have demos. He'll be doing a lot of matches on the East Coast while I'm out west or in central United States where he's not traveling. So there's a plan, and there's always, the 5-year plan like you talked about. I'm here at the lab doing a lot of work. I'm not doing a lot of stuff for sponsorships, but I've got plans for, throughout the years, all kind of stuff's going to happen. So it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And, that's all we can ask for, right? So, everyone do their part, and,
have fun. That's what if you're not having fun, if I'm not having fun, I'm gonna make it fun. I think travel. It's going to be fun. But I tell Sherry the day that, this is not enjoyable anymore, I'll find somebody else to do what I'm doing so we continue the brand, but I won't travel. But I'm having a blast. I love meeting people from Long Island, New York, all the way to, San Luis Obispo, California, and as far north as, Wisconsin, and as far south as Key West. I love everybody and everything in between. I love meeting everybody when I travel. It's just one of those things where right now my health is good. Everything's great. I just got through having a surgery. I didn't make this really public till just now, but I had hernia surgery just 2 weeks and 2 days ago, where I been dealing with a pain, of course, in my growing area for a while. And it's one of those things that, you go to see me at a tent, you might see me sit down a lot. It's because I was having that burning pain. I didn't realize it was getting worse and worse for the past 2 years, but that's fixed. And my doctors cleared me, and I'm ready to go start traveling again the second week of January and have a whole new, less pain situation that nobody knew about anyway. So it's just one of those things that we adapt, overcome, and continue to, be who we're going to be.
Absolutely. And I mean, Brian, we met back in July, but I consider you a very good friend of mine. I love talking with you and hanging out, and it's always nice when I can pick up the phone and give you a holler and to see how you're doing. It's always.
I got a lot of friends that I love, call friends, and like yourself. And it's what I enjoy it. I enjoy the conversation. It is truly my family. My second family is when I'm on the road all the time, and that's one thing about it. When I have to go to other matches where some of my family members may not be there, it's going to be different because I'm used to having, people around me, or I'm used to being able to, film an event for people to see. And I'm going to do that more in 2022. I've got to get back to doing more YouTube live for people to see the matches happening across the United States. So last year was kind of a lot of new things with the first year of the Magical Mystery Tour traveling. But now I've got myself in a situation where I figured out some things. I'm going to be able to get out there and do more live videos for people to see, because we put a lot of views for people, seeing the shooting sports for the first time. And a lot of people give people stuff to share with their friends, because they don't always have the camera with them to be able to record when they're out there doing the shooting themselves. So looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, and you've recorded a stage for me, even though that was not one of my best stages. You still recorded it for. That wasn't on you. That was on me.
It's unfortunate when I go live. There's things out there, and I have people all the time, and they'll look at me and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that." I said, "It's okay. It's your words. It's not mine. You be right. You. I don't want you to change who you are." And we have an adult sport that people say what they want to say sometimes, and and there's of course there is youth watching, and youth understand that when like I told my son, when you're old enough to use the words correctly, then use them. Otherwise, that you're not old enough yet.
Exactly.
It's just words.
And that was interesting. I was going to ask you this question before I saw what you were wearing today. For the video listeners, Brian is wearing a Team Infinity jersey. Yep. How was your time at the Infinity experience?
Man, it was the most uncomfortable I've been in a long time. And what I mean by that is they did not give me a choice. I was going to learn how to shoot an open gun, learn how to do the movements. And what I did enjoy about it, because what I didn't want to go for, I wanted to go, when I was first asked, I was like, yes, I want to do this to be able to film it for you. I want to be in a situation where I'll learn how to break down an open gun, because I own a couple of them, but I've never actually got in there and just broke it down to be able to see everything. So the certified gunsmithing part of the class I was all into, and I thought I was going to squirm my way out of day 2 and shooting the match they had set up and doing through the training courses, but Mayor Rodero was not going to allow that to happen. And if you need a coach in the Texas area, or he travels as well, he's a great coach. He walked me through it. He was very patient, but it wasn't just me. There was other people there for the Infinity experience who had just got their Infinity presented to them in person, who had never shot a match before. So it was an amazing. I wasn't the only one there that was learning how to shoot for the first time. So it was really neat to be able to go through that process of learning how to get in and out of positions, how to run left to right, how to run forwards and backwards, with a gun over my shoulder, and everything was just an amazing situation to go through. So I highly recommend that. It's a great way to learn a lot from Mel Rodero, but it's also a way, if you haven't bought an Infinity gun, or even before you buy an Infinity gun, if you want to see what it's all about, take the course. They'll have a gun there for you to either rent, or I found out you can bring your own, 2011. You don't have to use theirs, because they're there to educate about their products, educate about the shooting sports, and also educate of why Infinity is different with their lab tour. I call it a lab, but their tour of all the machines they have in house. Because I've been to a lot of different manufacturers and stuff like that, and some parts are outsourced here and there, but they make every single part for that gun in house, besides the tape, besides the skateboard tape that goes on some of the grips, the screws, the most small pieces to everything is made in house, besides the optics, of course. But it's just insane. It's insane to see all that working and what they do in the house, and the quality control. Gave me a lot of respect, because I see what they do is the same kind of stuff we do here at Optical Prescription Lab with quality control. And to be able to see in person what Brandon is doing now, and all that he had to go through to get where he is now. And if you don't know the story of Brandon and Infinity, make sure you listen to it on the Hunters HD Gold Behind the Lens podcast, because he opens up to me. Well, he actually opened up to me. He's never opened up to anybody before about stuff like that. And it's a great story of what he's had to overcome and the diversity he's had to handle to get where he's at today, to continue to make that brand even better for the future in his family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're some beautiful guns. God,
yeah,
beautiful.
It is. And for him to be a part of every single design, and I was blown away by how many guns he's sending out of the United States. It's amazing how many guns he's moving. Just blew my mind.
Well, and how many guns they've probably produced, and there's probably no twin, unless you've ordered two identical guns. Probably no one has the same exact gun that anyone else has.
That's exactly right. Because every gun is just, it's just, I don't want to tell too much, but it's because I want people to go experience it. But yeah, it's something I would look into. The cost that's associated with the class and the experience is, in my mind, it's cheap compared to what you take away after that experience.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty dope. Maybe one day. Maybe
I make time for it.
Yeah, that's
real,
for sure.
It's just amazing. I'm looking forward to going back. Let's put it that way. And I'm not a competitive shooter, so I'm looking forward to going back.
Oh, well, that's true. You were in Infinity for the junior experience.
I wasn't there for that. I wasn't there. Jake Martins was there for that with USPSA and did a story on that. So, but I didn't make the junior experience. We had talked about it, but it had some scheduling conflicts, so I couldn't make that. I was going to go with USPSA at the same time, but due to scheduling conflicts and me being in other matches, I couldn't make it happen.
Gotcha. Now, dang. Now, Brian, since you brought it up, let's bring it up now. Why did you start Hunters HD Gold Behind the Lens?
Well, it's one of those things where I joked with it earlier, back when Kenzie's around, even before Kenzie started her podcast. I said, man, I ought to do a podcast because I enjoy doing them so much. And I said, no, never mind. I don't have time. And then it's one of those things when I'd met Dustin middle of last year, and he started talking to me about, doing a podcast. I was like, Dustin, I've looked at some variables. There's too many variables there for me that just is not going to allow for this to happen. And he, I just blew it off. I didn't think anything else about it. I enjoy it too much. I didn't know what direction was going to be happening with it, so I didn't have a plan. And without a plan, you can't execute without a plan. So I had an idea about following a shooter through some of his processes and working on a small documentary type thing, which is still going to happen to be released before the World Speed Shooting Championship that you'll see. But I decided to go follow Grant Kunkel for 2 weeks. And Dustin Sanchez is a videographer with has his own company with him and somebody else of Action Sports or Action something, Action 3 Gunner. I feel horrible. I don't know right now. But I hired Dustin to go be my videographer through this process to, travel with me, go follow Grant, go interview Grant. I want to do a story in kind of a short story, a short video series on Grant Kunkel, because he had just broke the world record at the Speed Shooting Championship. So we're going to go to Area 3 Steel Challenge with him, and then go to his home, meet his family, go to where he works, and learn about, just a video series on this, and then go with him to 2-gun championship, which we did all this for 2 weeks and put a lot of time into it. And I'm looking forward to when it's going to be released before the World Speed Shoot. We're going to release it late 2021, and life happens with a lot of other things happening. And Dustin, of course, was hired October 1, and he took over all these other responsibilities for me and other things through that process. But through the summer, when I went and he traveled with me, after we were at the 2-gun championship, and we were sitting down, and Dustin sitting next to me going, through some of the questions you've asked Grant and things you were doing, you're going to do this podcast now. I'm like, oh God, what are you talking about? I was like, you've got time. He goes, look at what are you doing right now? I was like, well, just hanging out. I'm usually walking around getting, getting video footage and stuff like that, but you've got time. And he goes, look, I'm going to do all your editing. It's going to be, all you got to do is record the audio. I'll get you a list of things to buy. And I told Dustin, I said, all right, before you give me a list of things to buy, I want the best. I don't want to, I'm a buy once, cry once type person. So I don't want to say, hey, we got this just to get started, and all of a sudden 2 months later I'm having to buy something else and throw this other stuff away or give it away. I don't want to be in that situation. So he gave me this this grocery list of things to buy, and I was like, holy cow. So it was a nice little chunk of change to get started. But at that point, I had a plan. He told me the plan. The plan was to record. He says, your format is not going to be questions based. Your format's going to be you're fixing to have a conversation. And what gave him the idea is because we spent so much time together, me and him had very in-depth conversations. And it was conversations he said he had never had with anyone before. Because I asked open-ended questions that gave people, and I asked a lot of questions just because I wanted to know the individual that was riding next to me in the van and everything else, and who I decided to, I didn't realize I was interviewing him for a position to do my marketing one day, but things happen, and he, I just asked a lot of questions, and he enjoyed having conversation with me, and he watched me have conversations with other people at matches, and he says, I don't want it to be an interview show. I want you to just go have interview. I want you to go have conversations and record it. He goes, that's all you got to do. I'm going to take care of all the editing. I'm going to take care of all this other stuff. It's not going to be on your plate. All you got to do is push record, stop it, and then send it to me when you get done. I'm like, sounds simple enough. And that's how Hunter's HD Gold Behind the Lens was started. It's just one of those things where Dustin gave me a plan. And once I was given the plan, then I knew how to execute it. And the very first one we did was with Jake Martins, Director of Media and Events with USPSA. And I've known Jake for, since I got, official eyewear back in 2018. We announced it in 2019. I talk to Jake all the time about business, about USPSA, about things he could discuss that was going on, because I'm now a part of the USPSA as an official eyewear. So I want to know what direction things are going and how I need to benefit or where I need to pivot to do different things with USPSA. So we became friends. I became a part of that. And when I had my first conversation with him, it was after Low Cap Nationals. And I asked him a lot of questions that other people didn't know. And it just became kind of the format to get into of, a lot of these people personally, and you know what you can talk about and you can't talk about. So if they don't want to answer the question, they don't have to answer it, but I'm going to ask it. So we'll see where it goes. And it's been an education for me to have these conversations with individuals. And I hope it's been an education for some of the listeners that may not shoot the sport to understand what it is and get into it a little bit more, or even give it a chance. Because, there's a lot of, sometimes there's crossover between, for an example, IDPA and USPSA, or there's a lot of people that start off with IDPA and realize they don't like it and go with USPSA, or vice versa. And it's one of those things that I try to bridge the gaps that are there, to try to bring it all together, that we're all may have our differences in a lot of things about how we handle our daily life. But what truly brings us together is the love of firearms and the Second Amendment. And that can allow anybody to have a conversation at that point, because you do have something in common at that point. It may not be you're using the same gun. It may not be using the same optic. It may not be you have the same friends, but you do have that family of, we're all here because we believe in the right to bear arms and the right to use our arms in a sporting or defense situation. And we have that as a family. So that's what brings us together every weekend, no matter what differences we may have.
Absolutely. And I enjoy the podcast. I know everyone I talk to enjoys your podcast. It's one of the top-notch shooting USPSA related podcasts out there. I mean, I can't go into a group chat about anything. It's like, you heard Brian's podcast today? Well, it's usually me asking them, but that's beside but
well, that means a lot. We just finished season 1, and we got some big plans for season 2. And I think season 2 is probably going to kick up sometime around the middle of February, 1st of March. So I'm anxious to get it started again, because I've got a lot of good things. But we did 2 a week to get caught up here at the end of season 1, because I had just so many people I was able to talk to, and so many great experiences. And we just finished up with Mike and Jason with the ammo company, Federal, and I feel horrible. Super Bell. Yep, Super Bell. So that's how we finished up season 1, and we just did a crossover podcast with, of course, the Hit Factor podcast, a little bit of history about me that goes into a lot more details about stuff we talked about today. And also, we're going to do a crossover and put it on our podcast. It's supposed to drop the first day of the year, but unfortunately, Dustin and his family right now are all down with COVID at a pretty bad level. So they're all trying to get through some better feelings pretty soon, so they can get a lot caught up themselves. So Dustin, everybody's doing good, but we just got they got it. They got COVID a lot worse than just the common cold.
Yep, that's no bummer. Now, Brian, how do you think we can take USPSA to the next level?
Patience would be number one. Now, not too much patience, because I do believe, I have my personal feelings about, we need a president to speak for the people, but patience to really see what's all going to come out of everything that's getting ready to change. Who is going to be the future area directors for some of the area directors that are going to be, either letting their term expire or, stepping out if they decide not to finish their term. I just think patience. And then once things happen, change is inevitable. With all the discussion going on, some people believe healthy or unhealthy, whatever that discussion is, it's still allowing for change. I do believe that the members, myself included, TY 107-700, need to be involved in the process of the change. So, there's different feelings about that, strong on both sides. I'm aware of both those sides of the conversation, and I look forward to getting some things changed, like the great things that have happened with 16.1 of the bylaw changes about rule changes being not going into effect to the next year. I think is a wonderful change. So I look forward to having discussions with both sides of the party, we'll call it right now, to be able to find out where the common ground is and the who, what, why, whys, and hows of some of the conversations I usually like to get into and understand what the thought process is, besides just giving the appearance of taking over. Sometimes it's the way some people feel right now, which is valid in some areas. So patience. Continue to talk. Continue to email your area director. Continue to CC the other area directors if you feel you aren't being heard. Just have patience, but continue to talk. Continue to post. Continue the discussion. I think that's what's important right now, because that is causing change. May not be the change that everybody likes, but it is change. And when other people that I've talked to, you've heard on the podcast, say they want to be area director one day, when changes happen and they may or may not get their chance to be area director, then changes will happen. And bylaws can be changed again, because the bylaws have been changed every year at some point for the past 5 years. And those are back in the meeting notes of the board of directors notes that are online at USPSA.org. So you can see, so bylaws have always changed. They haven't changed dramatically like this in a long time, which is some of the reasons we're saying they're making so many changes. But bylaws have changed every year for the past 5 years. So they will continue to change. They will continue to evolve. And the shooting sports will continue to grow, the shooting sports will continue to go on. It will be. The USPSA will be here for many years to come and many generations, is my hope.
Yep, absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. Have those conversations. Change is a good thing, could be a bad thing, but change can happen. And
there's a lot of people that are in positions they're in right now because nobody else wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think through these conversations we're having now, that more people are wanting to get involved. And that's where the positive change is happening. When people are having to be appointed because nobody else wanted to do the damn job, that's not good for an organization. So the fact that now we have people that are actually voicing their opinion and wanting to step up and be area directors or even be president is exciting. So everybody's, that's good change. That's good change. So step up, be involved, go, be that person that gets in the executive sessions yourself to see what's going on. So you can see what you can't talk about, but you have more of an understanding to be able to educate your other friends, that are in the shooting sports, to give them an idea. This is why I can't talk about this, but this is the change that's happening. So, be a part of the sport, be a section coordinator, be a match director. Don't allow your match directors to get burnt out. I've already seen it. I've only been in the sport 4 or 5 years now. I've seen match directors get burnt out and not be a part of it anymore. So the more people that get involved, the more people that can help, help build stages, help do everything, help pace, whatever that is part you're calling, be a part of the sport. Just don't be the person that wants to shoot the sport and leave. Be a part of the sport. That's my message.
Yep. And I can agree with that. That's for sure. Get involved. It doesn't take much to get involved. I mean, go help set up a match, go do your part.
It takes a little bit more dedication of time, but that's part of it. That's part of the sport. Right. Be a part of the sport. Don't just, give back to the sport. Don't always just take from the sport. That's the message.
Absolutely. I agree with that too. Brian, do you think there's a way we can draw companies from outside the 2A community to help bring up more to the sport?
I hope so. I don't know the answers to that. I hope so. Politics is very strong with the tools that we use every day, and since social media is here, we're seeing changes in USPSA, right? As an example. All right. So if Coca-Cola gets involved, and this is just an example, if Coca-Cola gets involved and they do stuff on social media or do something like this, all it takes is one of the groups that have more money and more power than another group to bash it on social media, and Coca-Cola has to make a decision. And unfortunately, I think that decision would be to leave the shooting sports alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people have to realize. What we do need to get more involved in with sponsorships is mom and pop companies that are pro 2A, not just in the shooting area. So we need to reach out to other companies that we know are pro 2A or pro, not just 2A, but they're a mom and pop company that doesn't care what the anti-gun people say. That's an easier way to say that. For an example, if you know a mattress company, just for an example, a mattress company down the street that local to you that's always doing commercials, and you see the flag, and you know this company is a pro freedom company. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Why not ask them for to get involved? And I'm not sure I want to see a mattress on a prize table, but some of those companies may have the funds to say, heck yeah, this is local to my area in Michigan, and I'll put my mattress company on a banner, but I don't want to, here's $1,000 or here's $2,000. I don't know. Everybody's budget's different, but you may find more companies that are budgeted to give money back into the sport that way to help build their business locally. And then when the national level comes about, they have to step up and be known nationally if that's their market. That may not be their market. So the first thing that people have to do is look in your local areas. Don't just go to your gun store for a sponsorship. Find out what those mom and pop companies are in your area that are freedom business owners. I don't know what that looks like. I don't have I'm not a match director to know what that looks like, if they already tried or not tried. But don't just assume that every shooter wants, gun-related products on a prize table. They may want some local stuff from their local, I know when I was traveling through Wisconsin, and I saw, I got a refrigerator behind me, Outdoor Addiction. They do cheddar addiction sticks, and it's beef with cheese in it, there. Outdoor Addiction. I love them. They've actually sent me an email, but I love these things. And if you get a beef stick company that's local, that's in Blue Mounds, Wisconsin, that wants to sponsor a match to be known, and all of a sudden there's gift certificates or even money because they have the money, they have the budget to put it out there to sponsor a match, then that's pretty neat. I don't know what that takes. It's just like me drinking Conley Gold energy drinks and passing those out for free. I didn't know the company was a 2A company. I drank their stuff all the time because I was down in Florida and I was going to Melbourne where their home office is and buying their stuff. And I had a meeting with the CEO. I said, I need to have a meeting with you. He goes, all right. So I set up a meeting with him. And I said, well, I got 2 questions for you before we have our meeting. I said, what? I said, one, how do you feel about 2A or gun control? Where do you stay on that? He goes, well, I'm a gun owner. I don't give a damn about gun control. I said, great. I can ask my second question. You sponsor a lot with BMX and water skiers and all this other stuff. How would you like to get into the shooting community? He had no idea what it was. And guess what? He now ships me pallets of Conley Gold to give away free at all the matches, and his business is growing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I did it for me because, one, I'm drinking the product, but the second reason was another way to give back to the shooters to come by the tent. Another reason to come by the Hunters HD Go Magical Mystery Tour for refreshments for free. So it was a win-win for me because he's like, well, how much do I need to pay you to do this? I said, you're going to send me product. I'm already drinking your product. I don't want any money. He blew his mind. So why not, people at Volusia Gun Club or the WAC or other ranges down in, Florida area reach out to Con of Gold and, see if he wants to give you $1,000 for your match, or even product, or whatever that may look like. I don't know. I don't want to have those conversations, because I have these conversations for myself to benefit me and the shooters.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a plan for myself, but match directors need to have a plan how to reach outside and find an energy drink company, or find somebody that's wanting to grow their business to 30-something thousand people in USPSA. And I'm not sure the numbers in IDPA, but IDPA, Rimfire, and still all these other organizations, to grow their business a different way if they're a freedom-owned business. I like that. Freedom-owned business. I like that. That's better.
That is better. And
I came up with it. Freedom-owned business.
Better trademark or patent that one there, Brian.
Y'all have that one. It's all fun.
Right, exactly. And like
I get paid to come up with ideas.
Well, that's true. And like, just like in Wisconsin, near Eau Claire, Bush's Baked Beans, right? They sponsored the match.
Yep.
And there's baked beans everywhere, from what I could hear.
Yep. And that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how things get started. And it's like, I had to actually tell the owner of Con of Gold, I need a discount code. He goes, I don't understand why. I said, well, we need to make sure, one, you're getting a return on your investment, and two, I need to make sure what I'm doing for you is working. Because if not, I don't want to just take product and give away for free. It's got to work. And the other day you just bought some more yourself, so it works.
Absolutely. After we got the website fixed.
Yeah, we actually identified an issue with our website. But it's one of that's how companies work together. I reached out to the owner and made him aware of it, and he fixed it. It's just one of those things. Nobody knows until, things happen. I've got people that run my website. I pay them to worry about that. So that happens.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, Brian, what is something that current you would like to tell past you about anything in life?
What
is something, like, knowing with all the knowledge you have now, Brian, what is, if you could go back in time and go tell Brian at any point, what would what would you like to tell that person?
Wow. Wow, what change would that be? That's a very good question, brother. I made it, when I was back working at 21 years old at a company called Video Concepts, my mind was set to go to school in college, get my criminal justice degree, and be a police officer, and that was my path. And I had other things lined up for me, because family members that were higher up in different areas, I had ways to get into a situation for the future. And then I got into retail sales, and I got the phone call from Chief Swindle at the time in Tuscaloosa, saying, hey, we're ready to get you started. And I said, oh, great, what's the starting pay? And I remember him telling me it was $16,500, and as it starting off on the police force. And I had just, I think, made $30-something thousand that year as a 21-year-old in retail management. And I made a decision at that point in my life that I chose retail as a career. And to me, that was one of the most important roadblocks in my entire life, because I was working for a company called Video Concepts that was owned by Tandy Corporation out of Texas, that also owns Radio Shack back in the day, and all, but the margins were never like Radio Shack margins that were dealing with 70 and 80% margins compared to 20 to 30% margins. And when computers came out in the late 90s, there were 4% margins. You only made money off when you sold the accessories with the compact Hewlett-Packard computers. That takes you back to the day. And when cell phones all came in bags and and bricks, and margins were nothing at that point. So, and that's why they closed the company down. And the decision to stay with retail was a very hard decision. And if I had that decision to do over again back when I was 21 years old, I decided not to finish college. I'd have told myself to finish college. And that's where I'm going with that. Because when I got to a point of managing stores, because I've managed everything in the retail world, because the way I got moved up in the companies was being recruited by other companies that wanted you back in the day. And I could have stayed with companies with, if I had a college degree, I could have stayed with certain companies and been a lot higher, different levels of executives in leadership. Because the highest position I think I've gotten was was a district manager at a company I worked for. And it's one of those things that, I wasn't allowed to go any higher without that college degree, back then. So, I would have never, I may not be here today if that happened, because I have had so many different paths and different people I've met throughout the, retail career, but it would have made my life easier to stay with a certain company and not, jump, from job to job back in the day. Because, I worked a lot of different jobs, but my career was retail. So I never did not have a job. There was always somebody hiring and somebody recruiting. So it's one of those things that, finish that college degree was my biggest thing for Brian back when he was 21 years old. But that would be it. Great question.
And like I said, if you finished college, who would have said, what would have been today, right?
Yeah, I mean, I tell my son the same thing. My son is working at UPS and going to UAB, and he came to me about it's funny, a personal story about 6 months ago. I said, Dad, I'm getting ready. We're in Pelham, south of Birmingham. He was getting ready to move up north to Florence with one of my buddies and go find another job. And I don't want to go back to college. I was like, I didn't panic. I didn't freak out. I just said, okay, all right. I said, when you tell your mother, she works at UAB, so he gets a discount on his schooling. And I said, you better be ready for a fight, because this is going to be, you're 20, you're fixing to be 20 in January. He's 19 at the time. You're an adult. You can do what you want to do. I said, but I need you to come to the house and see me in a couple of days, so I can sit down and talk to him. I'm not mad. I got some things I want to go over with you. He goes, okay, cool. So he came by the house. He's 19 years old. He lives with his mom, lives with me. He goes where he wants to go. Mm-hmm. He's very, very responsible. And he sat down, and I sat down with him with a piece of paper that was a budget. And I had showed all the expenses that he'd be responsible for moving out on his own. And I took his current pay at UPS, which is very good, and broke it all down for him with everything he was going to have to do. And I said, this is your net negative number at the end of the month. So you're going to need to work more hours instead of doing part-time, because he's going part-time part-time UPS and full-time at UAB. And I said, this is right now where your net is. So you're going to have to work about, 2 more hours a day to make it where you have disposable income to do what you want to do. Because I put in the budget, food expenses, even extra expenses to do stuff he wants to do on the weekends and stuff like that. I was very, very, very detailed of writing his budget and put it in front of him. He says, all right, thank you so much for the information. No, this is reality check of, as a parent, this is where we're at now. This is what your future looks like, and I'm going to support you 100%. This is what's in front of you. And about 3 weeks later, he called me back up. He says, yeah, what's going on? He says, I've made a decision that I'm going to go ahead and go back to school the next semester. I'm not ready to move to Florence yet with his buddy. I said, okay, good deal. Let me know if you need anything. And in a discussion. So it's one of those things that, nobody did that for me when I was younger. And I don't react a lot. I listen. Mm-hmm. And, I'm a very emotional person, but I try not to react. I try to really listen and get to the bottom of it and understand the whys. It's part of being a parent. Thank God I was only one and done. Only had one kid. I don't know, I could do two. Bless the parents that have multiple kids, but I was one and done. And it's one of those moments where you don't know how to handle things like that. But that was my to bring all this back together was me trying to educate him to just he's only got 2 more years. Finish up college. Try to finish this up because it will open doors for you. Hopefully, where our economy is now, it may not open anything because anybody gets hired with anything, but because everybody needs workforce right now. But college degrees kind of come and go. Unless you're going to be in a specialty service thing. But he doesn't really know what he wants to do yet. So just get the degree. So that was kind of my thing. If I'd have just had a simple business degree, 2-year business degree or whatever, I could have, been promoted to other positions. But like I said, I may not be here today because of it. So I'm very thankful for where I'm at today. I'm very thankful for everybody that's helped me get to where I am today. That has been a part of my life since I was 21 years old. Lots of people that have helped me get me where I'm at today. Absolutely. I can't do it by myself. You never can.
Right. Now, Brian, we're getting to the very end of the show, but I mean, we got to pay the bills, right? So I'm like, we got to talk about the companies who support you, Hunters HD Gold, because I mean, without them, we can't be able to do the awesome things that we all do, right?
Well, my biggest sponsor is Optical Prescription Lab and Sherry for supporting me and everything I do to help, build her business up as well and keep it going. Because if it wasn't for Hunters HD Gold, Optical Prescription Lab would have had some problems back when COVID was bad in 2020 because all the independent optometrists and ophthalmologists closed for 6 months. So that we had a solution there to stay open, and it worked, and we stayed open because of the USPSA and other shooting things. Of course, Conley Gold, they help support me and the shooters, and that's what it's all about. Vortex Optics sponsors all my personal optics on all the Hunters HD Gold custom guns. Springer Precision, they've been real big to help get their word out there and supported me as well. The Armory Guns and Ammo here in Pelham, Alabama, who's done a lot of the great artwork that you see on all the guns I travel with, everything else, and to all the manufacturers that have helped me, be able to purchase the guns that I have purchased from them. And some of them have actually donated to the, to the van to be able to travel around with for part of their marketing as well. But, I can't do it without I said something wrong earlier. The biggest sponsors I have are all the competitive shooters that have decided to wear Hunters HD Gold. I mean, I couldn't do it without, people like, you and, the people that are shooting the sport and have believed in me and believed in the product that I brought to market for them. They're spending their hard-earned money on products to use and wear every day that something that we create here in Alabama. And I can't do it without that at all. So that's my number one sponsor is people like you that have chosen to purchase Hunters HD Gold. And of course I've got, that's the biggest thing. And I don't want to forget the 3 jersey companies I work with, Techwear, Go Fast Don't Suck, and Michelle Wutzel out of Nebraska area that helps do all my custom jerseys for me. So just a lot of great people I'm associated with. And I know I've left some people off and some manufacturers off, but they know who they are and everybody's very special to me. But the opportunity today to be here on your show is just great. And we do have, this is being released on the new day. So if you want on the new year, so we have some new products that we're coming out with. Would you like to know about those?
Go right ahead, Brian. I was going to let you go for that. Go right ahead.
Well, we have finally found, you've heard the frame story for years because I've always talked about everything else on other podcasts. And you see safety frames all over the place. I've been working with companies to get frames a certain way. And we do have a new frame line that is coming out. As this is released, it's already on the website. Mm-hmm. And it's called the Matrix, as a matter of fact. So either you choose the red or the blue.
Mm-hmm. That's fucking fantastic. I love that.
This is the Matrix, and it fits a lot, kind of like what you're wearing now, but it is different because what is different about this is it is a ANSI Z87 plus one semi-rimless frame. So it's wider, it holds the frame larger, very comfortable side nose piece. So, but it comes in blue, it comes in red. Like I said, which one do you choose?
Right.
But
Red pill, blue pill.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to stop there. It does come in black.
Ooh,
Kind of like what you're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like. Mm-hmm. And one other color, which is kind of cool, gray. So if somebody wants a little bit of contrast. But so we were working with the company, and guess what? We got it right. It's a very comfortable fit. People, I think this is going to be a huge success for 2022 and moving forward, because we can put prescription in these as well, like I said, and have the ANSI ratings on the lens, the UV6 Plus, which you can read about what that means on our website. But we always talked about having the adjustable nose piece. So same frame, a little bit different on temple. There's your choices. Choose the red or the blue again. But it does have an adjustable nose piece. So you can adjust this any way you need to on your face. So if you're shooting shotgun, you can raise it up, however you need to do it, or lower it for anything else. So whatever you got to do, full adjustable nose piece, and it comes in red and only blue. And the temples are a little bit different as well. So see the difference in temples. You can see there, one solid. But again, we're in a situation where we're able to put prescriptions in these and have the safety that everybody is used to or getting used to based on the education that we've done with Hunter's HD Gold lenses, to have the ANSI, rated lenses in certain frames. So very excited to be able to release the Matrix, today. So very excited. So I listen to shooters. Like you said, it's one of those things where shooters are, you're my content. I need to hear what's good, what's bad. I'm aware of a lot of it, but it doesn't mean I don't want to hear it, so I can keep focused on it. So that's what I do. That's what we're doing. So there's some other surprises that are on the website as well that I'm not going to talk about here, but there's other frame options that are out there as well. So a lot of good things. Hunter's HD Gold is continuing to grow, listen to shooters, and innovate, and have frame companies actually listening to me now to get different designs made and updated is very special, because I'm not in the frame business. I'm still not. I'm working through another company that are making these frames and inventorying these frames, and I'm purchasing the frames as I need them without the accountability of having to buy dies and all this other stuff to actually be in the frame business. So other companies are believing what Hunter's HD Gold is doing to reach new markets. This is going to help get us into the lifestyle branding that you've heard me talk about, to be able to use in other sports as well for more fashion forward type frames. And as you see online, if you go to huntershdgold.com, you're going to see the other surprises that are there as well, the stuff that I've been carrying around with me for the past year that are now available to purchase as well. So lots of great things, and thank you for letting me release that on your show that you do, man. That means a lot to me.
Well, I appreciate you bringing it to me, Brian. I'm excited about these. I mean, I bet everyone will be. I mean, I planned on wearing my current golds. I didn't know that they'd be so closely similar, but that's freaking fantastic. But so where can they find you, Brian? Like, obviously we have a website.
Yes, at Hunters HD Gold on any social media platform. So at Hunters with an S HD Gold. YouTube is going to be real big in 2022. So make sure to like and subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. Of course, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for some behind the scenes stuff on TikTok is always fun. And of course, the website, huntershdgold.com, where we have all the information out there for everything you need to know about buying Hunter's HD Gold in a prescription, using your own personal frames for custom, or anything else we have available out there. And I'm still receiving all the emails. When you hit contact us, they all come straight to my phone. So I've had 4 emails come in since we've been on the show so far. So business never stops, and people all over the United States and now the world are starting to understand what Hunter's HD Gold is for the shooting sports, and in the future, even more of their lifestyle.
And it's fantastic. And I'm going to end on this note. Thank you all for listening, checking out this podcast. It's been a long time in the making. Brian's a good friend. And until next time, guys, I'll see you on the range and get out and do the things.
Thanks again, man.